A little poem to start our day. Tricky Mr. Rooster. Have you ever heard the sound of Mr. Rooster in the morning? You might think it's quaint or cute, but the truth is it's annoying. He doesn't seem to own a clock. It's really rude. He crows and crows at crazy hours. I think he is confused. Cock-a-doodle-doo, 1 a.m. Cock-a-doodle-doo, 3. Cock-a-doodle-doo, dinner time, it starts to grate on me. One day I took my dirty sock and put it on his beak. I thought that it would do a lot, perhaps to help me sleep. But tricksy Mr. Rooster, he got the best of me. He got out of the chicken coop and drank all my coffee. Today we're going to be talking about raising livestock. Have you ever thought about the meaning of the word livestock? Why don't we just say raising farm animals? Livestock is a word that refers to farm animals that are very specially seen as giving or having value. People might value animals for many different reasons and purposes, such as to sell, work, provide eggs, or other food to eat. And this was no different during the pioneer times. Common livestock that you might find on a pioneer homestead were pigs, chickens, cattle, sheep, oxen, horses, and mules. Some of these may have been brought over on the initial journey west, while others might have been purchased or traded once they arrived. Let's look a bit closer at the lifestyle of raising livestock during the pioneer times and how that compares with today. The family milk cow. During pioneer times, milk cows were a hot commodity. What does that mean, hot commodity? People really wanted it. They really used not only for milk, but also for butter, cream, and cheese. Milk cows were challenging to bring on the trail for a lot of reasons. First, milk cows needed a lot of extra food and rest in order to produce the amount of milk they did. Second, if they did not get the care they needed, they could dry up or even die. Because of this, it was more common to wait until a homesteader had arrived and then purchase a cow or a few to raise there. Do you think milk cows always have milk? When do you think they're going to have milk? When they're babies or when they're adults? Think about it. What is the hormone that is required for a cow to produce milk? Is it the same or different for people? Let's pause and think about that one. All breeds of cows produce milk. So, have you ever wondered what makes a milk cow a milk cow? There are particular breeds that are known for their high quality milk and high production. The most popular breeds of dairy cows are Jersey or Holstein, the black and white picture you probably have in your mind when you think of a cow. When a cow becomes pregnant, it stimulates a certain hormone in her body that prompt her to lactate. That means where the milk comes. In fact, this is one of her ways you can tell if an animal is pregnant and not just gaining weight. You see their udders fill up. Once a calf is born, it will naturally nurse for nearly a year, and this is where a regular cow becomes a milk cow. Farmers will separate a mother and baby and continue milking the cow. As long as the mother is milked twice a day and gets enough nourishment to keep her supply, she will continue to produce milk. During pioneer times, farmers would first use the milk to feed the calf before bringing in the buckets to the family. From there, it could be churned into butter, separated and skimmed into cream, butter or cheese, or chilled for a tasty cup of milk. Though there was no electrical outlet for a refrigerator, pioneers would find creative ways to cool their dairy products. From hanging milk or butter deep into a well, remember we talked about that, to digging a hole or placing it in a cool stream. Kind of like at the cabin when we throw the watermelon in the stream, it gets it nice and cold. Even the hottest summer had cool hideaways. Cows were usually milked on a strict schedule, twice a day, so they could continue to produce and avoid the risk of infection. Often, women or children would have the milking chore and would milk the cows by hand. Today, this process looks very different because dairy products are regulated and easily accessible at the grocery store. A family milk cow is no longer as common as it once was. Families, or more often dairy farms, that still milk do so with an electric milkers. Advanced dairy farms even have automatic milkers that the cow can go in anytime they feel full. So we get our milk from Wendy, and they have a cow that they milk, and they use a machine normally, but we're going to get to see how they milk that cow soon.
Life with pigs. Perhaps the most common type of animal on the homestead was a pig. They were hardy, they could survive different temperatures and bad weather, and would eat just about everything, making them much easier to care for. Pigs were often left to forage for their own food, which included eating roots, leaves, small critters, and plants. Because they were left to roam, problems would sometimes arise when they went a bit too far and ended up on another person's property. To avoid disputes, farmers often earmarked their animals so they could claim them or recognize them. Pigs had very large litters, which was anywhere from 7 to 14 piglets. Pigs were pregnant for only 114 days, which was about 4 months. Because they reproduced so rapidly and were easy to keep, bacon was a staple in the pioneer diet. Today, hog farming is not entirely different than it was then. Pigs are still notorious for getting out of enclosures and known, and even feared, for being willing to eat anything, including taking a chomp out of an unsuspecting leg or hand. The most common way to contain a pig is through a simple electrical wire a few inches from the ground. One zap from the wire is all that is usually needed for the pigs to stay well away from the boundary line and keep them from roaming too far. Although pigs will eat just about anything, most pigs today are fed on a grain-based diet. Chickens are versatile birds that have been used for their eggs and meat for thousands of years. Pioneer families usually put together some form of rough shelter to protect their hens from predators at night. They would go out daily to keep the coop clean, feed the chickens grain and scraps, and scoop any fresh eggs that had been left behind. Similar to cattle, some breeds of chickens were known for their egg production, and others were good at bulking up as meat birds. A typical homestead usually had a mixture of both. Raising chickens was an ongoing process, as the lifespan and cycle of a chicken was not as long as a larger animal. An egg-laying hen usually had the best eggs in production for only around 2 years. New hatchlings took about 6 to 7 months to grow old enough to lay eggs, so the timing was carefully managed to ensure that each year brought a certain amount of new chicks and egg-laying remained consistent year to year. As more people settled, building communities in towns, it was a highlight to gather together for a fair to show off the best livestock, baking, or crops of the year. Today, backyard chicken coops are perhaps the most common way for aspiring farmers to begin their foray into the world of poultry. We have feed stores with giant bags of grain, chicken feeders and waters, cute little chicken coops, bags of shavings, and custom-built chicken runs available for sale to appeal to the veteran poultry farmer and hobbyist alike. With electricity, heat lamps, and fans, we can keep the conditions optimal for our little cluckers, something that would have been much harder a few hundred years ago. Eggs that are unwashed and fresh from the chicken coop have a protective layer called the bloom. It seals all the tiny pores of the eggshell so bacteria cannot get inside. Because of this bloom, fresh eggs can last up to a month on your countertop. Washing the eggs removes the protective layer, and this is why most eggs are stored in the fridge. Draft animals are animals that are raised to pull heavy loads. These animals were essential to a growing homestead as there were no tractors, trucks, or trailers to help furrow the ground or till the compact soil. Instead, horses, oxen, donkeys, and mules were harnessed to a wagon or plow and used for their sheer strength. Oxen were more common as horses and were highly sought after and incredibly expensive. Regardless of the breed, draft animals were a normal way of life before the gas-powered engines we have today. While draft animals are still popular, they are often used in different capacities. Horse muscle power has been replaced with horse engine power. Horses are used instead for breeding and selling, riding, cow driving, rodeos, racing, and pulling for fun or tourism, such as a sleigh ride. Some people still use oxen for driving or plowing, especially in difficult-to-reach areas where machinery may not be able to easily access. However, oxen are less prevalent than they once were. Draft animals and pack animals that used to be necessities are now more of a hobby for many people.